We're
We are good to
here.
go. We are good to go. All right.
We got
What is
this.
up, everybody? Hello and welcome as we get everything popping all right here. So welcome to a normal party 50 years in the making, part two. My name is Rico Lamite, and I am the Los Angeles Norml director of events. And I am the founder, LA founder, OC founder of Cannagather, and I'm also the CEO of the Suave Life. Definitely appreciate everybody coming out today.
Yeah, and my name is Ishka Hillman. I am the CEO of Cannabis Babes and new host of our live Instagram, which we've now done 99 shows. So really proud of that, Rico. This is awesome. And can't wait to do this with you here and LA Norml and all our great guests today.
No, absolutely, absolutely. So for the lineup today, we have some excellent speakers. We have some great entertainment as well. We got some all-star celebrities in the back end with us right now. They're also going to be helping us at halftime. An incredible 420 sesh like never done before. We have Bruce Margolin, Keith Strop, and Eric Altieri from Norml as well. So I got a little cotton mouth already. And for our speakers, we're going to be taking it from the legacy to the current and the future of advocacy. With the legacy, we're going to be with Todd McCormick. I'm Felicia Carbajal, representing the current advocates, and bringing us into the future digital advocacy is Chris Delolio from WebJoint. But the halftime show, we're going to have Tommy Chong, Todd McCormick, all of our speakers, Mario Guzman from Sherbinski's, Mr. Sherbinski himself, Brett Harrelson, Rob Van Dam. Who the fuck else we have? We have everybody, Pop Brothers at Law.
We've got everybody. Yeah.
We might have a couple of other, we might have a couple of other surprises coming up also. But I think right now we're going to go ahead and get started. And our first segment, as Bruce is going to get in here, we're going to have Bruce come in and he's going to introduce the halftime show. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Ishka, it's going to be you and Todd for our first segment, and legacy, operators, and advocates. So much love, everybody. Thanks for coming out, and I will see you guys at halftime.
One of the cool things about this is all the different people that we have coming from not just LA, but all over the world, including Todd, who's joining us from the Bay Area.
Thank you for having me on today.
Thank you.
Happy 420.
Yes, happy 420. Do you have something to smoke there
I've been smoking the whole time. But it's beautiful to be part of this. You know, I first heard of Norml.
I don't blame you. I should have been.
Yeah. I first heard of Norml back when I was just a kid seeing Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams movie. And Cheech had on a Norml t-shirt, and I was probably only about 11 years old, maybe 12 at the time. And it caused me to wonder what the heck that was. And, you know, here we are years later still advocating for the legalization and equal rights that we all deserve.
Yeah. So when did you, so the first time you saw it, you were 11, but then when did you actually become involved? And what was that?
I became involved with Norml in 1994. I'd met Jack Herer, I had read his book in 1993, and I was completely blown away with The Emperor Wears No Clothes. And I went up to Los Angeles. I was living in San Diego at the time, and I went to go meet Jack and thank him for writing this book, because I felt vindicated, as a lot of people who read his book do. You know, we've been, you know, vilified for a long time as smokers and users of cannabis, that we'd all go crazy or do horrible things, that we've all been branded criminals for so long. And to read the history and to read the medical utility and to realize that that was all true really changed my perspective on cannabis. And when I got involved with Jack Herer, I in turn got involved with Norml, because we were mobilizing to actually pass the 1994 hemp initiative, and we were trying to utilize all of our relationships, and Norml was a big part of that. California Norml, San Diego Norml, Bruce at Los Angeles Norml, were all, you know, there wasn't a lot of us back then trying to legalize pot, and our rallies were kind of small, but we were persistent. and we never gave up. And, you know, here we are 25, 26 years later. We have legalization, and we're fighting for equal rights and lower taxation, and medical patients actually have a right to their medicine and not just a medical excuse to have their medicine. And I think that we've made it a long way in a short amount of time. And a lot of that is because of the advocacy that's been done by Norml and other groups that were inspired by Norml.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, a lot of people listening, they don't realize. Go ahead.
Oh, no, go please.
I was going to say a lot of people listening might not realize how old Norml is. Norml was started back October 1st, 1970, I believe was its first date of doing business. And a lot of people might not realize that Hollywood was a big influence. When Keith Stroke was trying to raise the money to start this organization back then, a lot of people were turning him down. They didn't think it was important, but it was Hugh Hefner and the Playboy Foundation which donated the first round of funding to Norml and got it started. And it was Keith's ability to interact with celebrities and to get their endearment, if you will, and to get their support that caused this to become such a mainstream issue. And then it was people like Tommy Chong and Cheech Marin who actually wrote the scripts that became what we laughed at, the stereotypes. And, you know, a lot of people thought Cheech and Chong were dumb, not realizing that Tommy Chong wrote and produced those movies. You know, if anything, he's one of Hollywood's few true geniuses that created his own vehicle and wrote it into being famous. And to me, Tommy, once you know him, he works out. He's a beautiful family man. You know, he's healthy beyond what a lot of people who did alcohol and other things all the time. And he's a great example of what a real user of cannabis was, because he laughed at the stereotypes so much that he was able to make movies about it and have us all laugh at what people thought we were. And then we all proved what it really was. And what it really was now, you know, 20 years ago today, I was sitting in a federal prison for growing cannabis in my backyard in Bel Air. And now we have cities all over the state of California deeming cannabis essential. That's a big shift.
Yeah. It's so powerful, isn't it? That was definitely something very exciting from all this.
It's beautiful to see the perspective change. Norml was started to actually fight for the rights of the users of cannabis, you know, the end users. And, you know, now it's kind of the dynamic is changing, and now it's fighting for the equal rights of cannabis users. When you think equal rights, think of alcohol, think of tobacco. You know, you don't get fired from your job because you use, you know, you drink a little beer on the weekend, but they can fire you from your job if you smoke a little pot on the weekend. And these are the kind of obstacles that we now have to overcome as consumers of cannabis. And, you know, for me, my next book is called From Cancer to Cannabis, The Essential Guide to the Endocannabinoid System. And I find it somewhat amusing that every, you know, cop and prosecutor, judge and jailer who's ever locked me up for growing cannabis all has an endocannabinoid system. And everybody listening to this right now all has an endocannabinoid system and would benefit from learning about cannabinoids, terpenes, and how it benefits their body.
Wow. That sounds awesome. One last question before we have to go. I was wondering if you could answer why you think that advocacy has been so important to the movement.
Advocacy,
you know, having started with those smaller groups. I mean,
advocacy has been the movement. Before there was ever any commerce that people would talk about, any taxation plans or schemes by the state governments, we were just advocating the truth. I used to stand in Venice Beach, literally at Jack's booth, trying to convince people that the cloth I was wearing was made out of cannabis hemp because they thought I was crazy. And what we were trying to explain to politicians back then, the history that canvas covered wagons, canvas was a cognate of cannabis and all canvas goods came from cannabis. That small history fact blew people's minds. So it was our advocating the truth that has really brought us to where we are today. And it's why I've always been so supportive of Norml and the organizations that it has inspired, because without them, we wouldn't have the freedoms we have now. Keith Stroke is now and has always been a hero to me because he had the foresight to fight for freedoms that a lot of people thought were insignificant and didn't matter. And they were wrong and he was right. And now we are all benefiting from over 50 years of his hard work, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So thank you for having me on. I hope everybody has a great 420.
Yeah, no, thank you so much. It's been a pleasure to talk to you now, but then also definitely behind the scenes. And I look forward to watching your documentaries and for your next book coming out. Can you give me the title one last time?
Yes. When I was a kid, I had cancer 10 times. And now my next book is called From Cancer to Cannabis, The Essential Guide to the Endocannabinoid System. And now if people want to get my seeds, they can go to my website, agseedco.com. I've been cultivating cannabis for 36 years, minus the time I was in prison, of course, but pretty consistently the rest of the time. And now I'm able to make my seeds available. So I'm sharing the genetics I've been collecting for decades.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Happy
Thank
420.
You too. Have a great day.
Oh, here we go.
There
Rico
she
and
is.
Felicia. There you guys go.
There she
Okay,
is.
awesome.
Much love.
I'll
I
see you a
see
little
everyone.
later.
I cannot hear anybody.
Are you good? We can hear you. Can you hear us?
So you can hear me. I just can't hear you. In terms of what does advocacy mean to me in particular, now more than ever, I think it's really highlighted for me as a person the need for more and more people to be vocal about what they're seeing, what they're hearing, what they're experiencing. So in terms of cannabis specifically and Norml, I mean, Norml were the grandfathers of pushing for this portion of the conversation in terms of normalizing our experience, normalizing how people saw us, primarily because I think it was a lot of white guys. So it didn't make people so scared to see a group of white guys pushing for what they felt was their inherent freedom as individuals. So it's difficult because it's not as much advocacy right now as it's being that activist.
Right.
And while, we can't be loud and have bullhorns and do all of the things that we need to do to express ourselves the way that we typically do, we're still seeing it actively happen. So we're seeing a lot of activism. So for me, I think activism is a part of my personal healing. Somebody who's been system impacted, who's somebody who knows what the war on drugs looks like firsthand, and somebody who loves this plant and who this plant is their medicine, and who's seen this plant save so many people's lives in particular. So I think for me personally, like, I'm okay with being an activist. It makes me respect myself, and it affords me that opportunity to be able to advocate in ways that are, I guess for me personally, not so attached to some of the institutions and systems that we know are broken. I know I see another question coming in.
And why do we need that? And why do we need advocacy right now? Why do we
needed more advocacy in terms of, what do we need and why do we need it? Like now more than ever, I mean, cannabis is considered an essential business, but part of that essentialness is for us, those of us who consume it regularly, those of us who have a personal relationship with this plant in particular, see it one way, and we know that it's helping us, and we know that it's healing, and when we see other people who are consuming it, we also believe that they're reaching for that. But in reality, it's just this tax windfall, and it's money in most municipalities across this country that hasn't really been accounted for. It goes into many general funds. It doesn't necessarily go to some of its intention. So I think now more than ever, it's an opportunity for those of us who believe in the power of this plant, believe in this industrial revolution's opportunity to help us grow and to build and to create something we didn't even imagine that we could. Now it's that time for those of us who are advocates and activists to really dig deep and dream, like, what have you dreamt of seeing happen in cannabis and in marijuana, like, and just push it. I was in one of the presenter rooms and somebody was talking about we needed more young people. So it's kind of like, for those of us who are older or who have who could have been parents to somebody in their early 20s like myself. It's also time for those of us to become mentors to people and to take those people who are under our wings and like help guide them, because right now we need as many people as possible like advocating for this plant, advocating for her freedom, because she's not free. She's taxed, she's been hoarded out so much, and it's so crazy to see how bad she's been hoarded out, to not be cognizant of at the same time that like, man, every inch that we get, they take it back from us. So we're always going to have to keep pushing and keep telling people our stories.
And if you could change any one thing to make advocacy work,
I think if I could
just
change
one
anything
thing
right now, and I think what the industry needs to change, and maybe not right now, because right now we're experiencing the pandemic and this major health that's occurring right now. But downstream, if we're to truly be successful as a community, to be acknowledged for who we are, for being just another human that's having an experience, and an industry who wants to actually capitalize on the potential of this plant, I'd say all of those people who are the consumers are going to need to be more active in letting people know what they need, what they want, how they want it, and shop their values. And we need to start seeing people in the industry start respecting those of us who are advocates, who have to go and have conversations time and time again with elected officials, government agencies, to get past the stigma and perception that our community is so riddled with. So I think it's going to take revolutionary things like that. It's going to take revolutionary things like in Los Angeles, where we have a group of people who are suing the city of Los Angeles right now because things aren't fair. So we're going to need as many people in as many conversations talking about this this better world that we want to create, because nobody's really talking about that. And that's the thing that's missing for our success as a whole, in my humble opinion. Like, if we want to make friends, all of these other communities, whether it's just people who need to be healed, or you see it as people who can exchange that energy, which is going to be dollars, then you're going to have to treat them with more respect and with more kindness and with more love.
I love that. Thank you so very, very, very much for coming on with us, Felicia. And especially dealing with these technical difficulties as well, because we had to switch over from their old room that we got kicked out of. But much love to you. Thank you for all the work that you do. And I got nothing but love for you. And I'll see you in the session just a second here. So we are opening it up right now. And we're going to have Mr. Bruce Margolin bring us into the 420 hour. So we're going to have a halftime sesh with some of the dopest people in the cannabis industry, from the legacy era, from the current COVID-19 bullshit we're going through right now, and then going into the future as well. So we're going to start opening up these cameras here. And as soon as Bruce is ready, we're going to open up his microphone. And now Mr. Bruce Margolin, the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Bruce Margolin, the executive director of LA Norml. The reason why most of us are here right now. And he was able to navigate the crazy waters that we had to start this thing off, as we got kicked the fuck out of the other room. And the music had zero fucking lyrics on it at all. It was just instrumental. So
I get it.
You can't play instrumentals either.
And I wanted to play Don't Bogart That Joint, your friend. Remember that? You said you can't do that. Anyway,
no. We got 3 minutes, Bruce. So tell us. Yeah, you can hear you.
Good. All right, listen. This is a party, number one. We're celebrating.
Yeah, turn the fuck up.
Celebrating 50 freaking years of being on game here and presenting to the people what do you call it? A responsible word and a beautiful opportunity for them to change the laws. You asked me earlier, Rico, about give us the backstory about Norml. I want to do that for everybody right now. give me just a minute, okay? I'm
2
trying
minutes.
to keep it. I try to keep it 3 minutes or whatever you want to talk about. Give me a moment.
420 is
okay?
coming. 420 is coming right now. We got to
All
spark
right.
up.
Well, I got my dude going on, man. I'm ready to
Perfect.
rock. We can all do that
Let's do
together,
it.
and we can do it. Well, there's no reason we can't join together with that joke, okay? Now, first of all, Keith Straub founded National Norml in 1970, as Todd McCormick pointed out. And by the way, Todd, thanks for the shout out. You spoke very well. He also wrote a book about the history of Norml. If you ever want to check this out, it's a terrific book written by Keith. It's called It's Normal to Smoke Pot. You should read it because it really gives a backstory for anybody who really wants to hear the details of it. And when I started my practice in 1967, possession of marijuana was punished by 1 to 10 years in prison. The first year was mandatory unless you got probation. And that was a very sad days. In 1970, Timothy Leary had overturned his conviction where he got 30 years in prison in federal court because the law then was what's called the Marijuana Tax Act that required you got a tax certificate or stamp before you could sell weed. And the Supreme Court of the United States held that was unconstitutional and struck down that current law that we had under federal law. As a result of that, they had to put on all kinds of different kinds of programs where they'd have hearings about the law, and about the herb, what its effects were, and that's where Keith Straub came in. Okay, his organization started in 1970, and this gave him an opportunity to be heard at those hearings. And not only did he do a good job of presenting our view, but he also made a place for Norml at that time, and that's the beginning of the beginning of what happened with why we became such a popular organization. Anyway, so what happened after that is that I saw it myself, no matter how many cases we win in the courtroom, I must say, I could probably say I defended more marijuana cases than any lawyer in the country. And in one moment, we're going to smoke one of these joints. Okay, you ready to rock? Okay. This could be better for me. I could talk and smoke a midnight joke at the same time, if you don't mind. Okay, you ready to go? Okay, I'm gonna say a mantra, which I always do before I smoke the herb. It's called Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? No. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Okay. Now, okay. Let me explain this Om Namah Shivaya for a moment. So it was something I was going to say to the end of the story here, but it has to do with the philosophy that I learned in India, that this marijuana is the sacrament of Lord Shiva. Lord Shiva is one of the 3 gods of India: Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. And what does Shiva destroy? The ego. That's why when people talk and joke and midnight smoke together, there's that camaraderie that immediately exists between us. The less an ego doesn't get interfere with us. And so I say, and many of my comrades say, Om Namah Shivaya. You want to try it? Om Namah Shivaya. Nevertheless, all right, now.
Om Namah Shivaya.
That's beautiful. Hail to Lord Shiva, Lord destroyer of the ego. This is his prasad. Lord Shiva was a stoner. They had Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. And let's rock and roll here. Let me go back a little bit, all right? So, in 1970, by that time 1970 came around, I'd already been a lawyer for 3 years, and I had a very big practice, probably the biggest in the country. I accepted an offer to run for state assembly on the marijuana legalization platform that year. And the only one I could run in that district I lived in was a location that was held by a guy named Charles Conrad. he was a 26-year incumbent, and that was going to be a tough job. Nevertheless, I had every hippie in town going out there, putting up signs and rocking and rolling, and we did very well in that campaign. I almost beat the guy by less than 5%. In the meantime, in 1968, I formed an organization called CAMP, the Campaign to Abolish the Marijuana Prohibition. That's a campaign to abolish the marijuana prohibition. And we did very well with that organization as well. And I want to tell all of you that it only takes 1 or 2 people to get this started. So any one of you could do what you're doing right now is beautiful, and I appreciate everybody that takes part here. Anyway, so the Democrats saw that success they almost had was extraordinary, and as a result of that, they saw that they could take that seat, and we did take that seat. We took that seat in the following 2 years, and then all the West Side was controlled by the Democrats, who were on board for our organization and our philosophy. The guy that won the seat was a good guy, and the people that came after him were all on board with us. We had parties that Keith was there at, all kinds of wonderful events together with them, and we finally got a bill passed in 1976 called the Moscone Act. Moscone was one of the boys up in Sacramento, a Democrat, and that reduced marijuana to straight possession of marijuana to less than an ounce, $100 fine. But meanwhile, people were going to jail for possession for sale over an ounce, cultivation, and matter of fact, thousands of people were being arrested, and many of them were not only being punished by the county jail, but many of them were going to state prison. Matter of fact, since 1973, we've had about 650 people every year sentenced to prison for marijuana cases. So that had to stop. Anyway, so in 1972, Keith came to San Francisco, and I was called on to come up there for a meeting with him and Gordon.
We're going to open up the room, Bruce.
And Gordon Brownell, and there we discussed the possibility of these organizations, these separate organizations, coming together under one umbrella, which was the National Organization of the Reform of Marijuana Laws. And in turn, I agreed that CAMP would no longer be on our own. We would now mesh with the Norml organization, and I'm glad we did, because we've really come a long way since then. Now,
real quick, Bruce, we got to shut it. We got to shut it down. We got Brett Harrelson coming in the room.
Okay, Brett. Okay,
we got Brett coming in the room. We have Mario Guzman. We have
Hey, Brett.
in the room. We have to open it up. We have to open it up to the live session right now.
I want to give a shout out to all the people of our Norml organization, LA Norml. All right, if you mind, okay. I got a champion a group here, okay, and they deserve a shout out. All right. First of all, Ian Rossman. He's our deputy director. This guy's rocking and rolling. He's the energy behind it. I'll tell you, it's like the engine. Then we have Rico Lynette. Who's that guy? Who's that Rico guy? Is that the father that had a baby recently? What's her baby's name? Come on. What's her name?
Zora, Young Z.
Young Z. All right. A new father. And Philip. And how about Philip Rosetich? He's a community outreach director. Philip, thank you. Where are you? I don't see you on the screen.
He's not on here right now.
Okay. Yeah. We have an attorney, Elizabeth Barkett Kesmer, just got married.
All of our special guests, you can join the conversation.
Okay. Congratulations, Elizabeth. She's the director of our legal affairs and our corporate secretary. I'm proud to have her in our group. We have Veronica Steele, membership director. We have Nicholas Castilli, communications director. We have Elizabeth Mack, director of health policy. We have Brett McComber, director of technology, and Hirsch Jane, who's the director of government affairs. Now, I know you want to rush me off here, and I appreciate you got a lot of people coming on, but I want to stay.
They're coming to join you, motherfucker. They're coming to join you, Bruce. Let's go.
This is a party. We got problems still because we're lucky we're sitting in our house. We can talk and smoke and midnight joke, but people that don't own properties and don't have a residence, they're screwed, okay? They can't. There's no on-site. We have no on-site consumption licenses in Los Angeles, and it really pisses me off. We've been working hard for that with Cat Packer and the president. Yes, but now we're all fucked up between the delays going on. It's a mess. It's not fair and ain't just. Those are the things we got to work on. We've got to make marijuana cheaper and more available. We need more dispensaries. We need to better grow weed outside. And we need to have more opportunities to get together at locations where we can be together and share this herb. Okay, God bless you.
Hey, Bruce. Hey, Bruce. Bruce, check.
Everybody give Bruce the motherfucking round of applause. Thank you.
Hey, Bruce. I remember in the 90s, Bruce, in the 90s, the late 90s, I was on tour with a group called the Cottonmouth Kings, and used to come out and get up on stage and do presentations and teach people back in the 90s on the legalization of cannabis. So you go way back, man. I respect all those things, man. That's good stuff.
I'm still putting my guide out for free for people to know what's going on. Todd mentioned the fact that if you don't know what's going on, you don't know the laws and your rights, you're going to get fucked, all right? It's still true. You got to know where you can smoke and all that stuff. Number, thank you for the shout out. I appreciate it.
You got it, man.
And we got a new beginning here, and I'm very excited about it. We got some beautiful people coming on. I don't want to take any more time, so let's rock.
I think Ian's with Brett Harrelson right now. We got Felicia Carbajal in the room joining the conversation. We have Mark Wasserman, pot lawyers. Excuse me,
pot brothers at law.
Right now, I'm like pot lawyers at Brothers.
Everybody,
pot brothers.
Felicia, Cannabis Talk 101.
Cannabis Talk 101, and we have Felicia Carbajal in the room. Can you hear us now? Felicia, you down? Fuck. Felicia was the only one that we had. She had hearing issues on her end, so I'm gonna be texting her as well. We have Chicago. Norml is in the house. We got Brett Harrelson down there with Ian Rassman.
What up,
Ian?
Ian.
Nevertheless, let's go back.
Where's Keith? Where's Keith?
Every time I get arrested for marijuana, I want to call Bruce, but I still can't afford him.
Oh, look, I got a policy. Whatever you can afford, I'll take. That's for sure. Okay.
A joint.
Look, I started out with people giving me yoga classes in lieu of fees. So that's where I come from. As a matter of fact, my experience in India and all that was inspired by my clients, and I really appreciate that more than the dollars. Okay, what they shared with me all these years, and that's what I appreciate about you guys.
Fuck yeah.
Hey, I got a question for Bruce.
What?
Tell us about the very first marijuana case you defended in court.
Okay. Okay. I just got what happened. I had about 25 kids busted in Hollywood at a hippie house. Okay. They each paid me $25. There was no problem with conflict of interest in those days. All right. At the end of the day, one guy had the weed in his drawer and he faced sentencing. And the judge said, I said, Judge, I just got out of law school, and I heard that according to the American Bar Association standard for punishment, it's supposed to be on the intended wrong. I said, gee, he said, and I said, what is the intended wrong here, Your Honor? I mean, I don't see any basis to justify punishing him by certainly putting him in jail. And the old judge looked around and looked around. Well, he said, young man, he broke the law. And I said, well, what the fuck here? We're going to have to get out of the courtroom and change these laws, okay? That was my first case almost, like the first case I had. And everybody got loose except this one guy. I forget what he got. He probably got 30 days, whatever he got. It was still fucked up, okay?
Yep.
And that's no joke, right? I could see people go to jail all those years and get busted and fighting, and it was very sad. But I had it made because I had the search and seizure laws you guys don't have anymore. You know that?
Talk about that. What's the differences now versus back then when you had to deal with it?
Well, I tell you, I just got out of law school, so I was up that game on constitutional law. That was my specialty, all right? And so what happened is that the Supreme Court, as you know, decided a few years earlier, Mapp versus Ohio, that if you do illegal searches, the evidence can't be used against the defendant. It has to be suppressed, and the case has to be dismissed if they don't have something else, right?
Correct,
so,
yeah.
Because the Supreme Court came down with that, these judges were thinking, this is the dog now. This is what we're supposed to do. And I was winning cases back to back. And one thing I could win cases on all the time was that there was a requirement of knock notice. We still have that requirement. The cops supposed to knock on the door, explain their purpose before they entered. But if you see old TVs, you'll see they kick in the doors. They think that was a better way to protect themselves. But the court yeah.
Let's bring Ian in on the conversation. We have Tommy.
Hi, Tommy.
Tommy's coming in. He's logging in a second time right now. So, Ian.
Their mics are muted. Their mics are muted. Someone might want to text them. Oh, they're on now.
If I see their face, I'm getting off. Okay, got it?
Yep.
Why would you get off? Why not talk mysteries?
Okay, whatever my point is, I don't want to interrupt anybody. Let me finish this conversation. All right, so these cops didn't know that is Section 844 of the Penal Code. Every day I win cases just on that issue alone. Okay, all day
What's
long.
happening, Blue?
And number two is that the cops didn't know the laws, the judges didn't know the laws, the DA didn't know the laws, and I knew the laws. Okay, very well. And so I was able to get a lot of breaks and a lot of good results because I had my book, my guide on marijuana laws. It had all the cases in there, okay? Anybody can pull them out and say, that's a case. It's not the one we need right there. Fuck, man. That's it. Boom, the judges would have to accept them. They didn't have time to research them. And we'd rock and roll.
We have Mr. Rob Van Dam in the motherfucking house, too.
Where is he? Where is he? Great.
There we go. Big brother in the house.
Former pro wrestler.
What up, big?
Hey,
as well.
Hey, where are your guys' masks over there? Where are your masks? I don't see you with your mask on, you guys.
Pro wrestling is an essential sport in Florida.
6 feet.
It is.
6 feet from each other, huh? Okay.
Pro wrestling, an essential sport everywhere.
Anyway, what's going on with you, Mark Wasserman? You're doing a lot of weed cases and no more left, thank God, right?
Well, no, they're still getting busted.
Yeah, I know. Here, there.
I got a call just 2 days ago from a guy who was in El Monte at a McDonald's drive-through.
Yeah,
him and his buddy.
Yeah,
a Mexican and a black guy, and they went out of the drive-through, had their food, parked, and a cop pulled them over. Didn't pull them over. A cop pulled up on them, and went to the window and started harassing him and saying, "Hey, what are you doing? What are you doing out here?" You know. And fortunately, they follow the Pop Brothers at law, and they know how to deal with that situation and not give them any kind of
guys, let's move it. Let's move it on to. And we're gonna move it on to Craig right here.
Hey, Craig.
Oh, I lost you. Go ahead.
How we doing?
Hold on, back up one moment. That's a very important area of practice that people have to know about regarding what do you do if you have weed in the car. You smell a marijuana, it's not probable cause according to Prop 64. So you would say,
yeah, God mode up in this motherfucker.
Did we lose Bruce?
We lose got him.
What's up, Craig?
I mean, hello, Craig, but
what's happening, brother?
Everything's good, man. Just staying quarantined, getting medicated, and staying quarantined, working out of the house.
Love it. We have Brett Harrelson. We have Brett Harrelson in the house as well, actor, and Woody Harrelson's brother, too.
Hello, Brett.
What's happening, Brett? He's over there. He's over there socially distancing with Ian. We do not see where they're. Oh, I do see the hands. Okay, I didn't take that back.
Keep your shit over on your side.
There he is. We got Mario and Chris.
Oh yeah,
as well, and we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna bring it back because we have the room extra at the end as well. We're gonna bring it back because we want Tommy in here too. We want to move forward on. Oh, Tommy's. We're gonna wait. We're gonna come back to him. We're gonna get Chris DeLolio on the line.
No, it's good.
Yeah, Chris DeLolio on the line here as well. And he's going to come on with us and talk a little bit about future activists and future advocacy.
I don't think we can hear Bruce
in the game. No, I muted him because he wouldn't fucking stop talking.
Him and Mark just rambled on, and he had to cut Mark and Bruce off because they were talking too long.
Oh, how funny!
I know. Yeah,
you won't get that out of me. I'm short and sweet to the point.
No, you're good. Like, tell us what. Tell the crowd about yourself, what you're representing, and what Norml means to you.
Well, it's huge to me. Growing up, medicating for 43 years, I believe it is now, and where we've come from and what the organization has done to get from where we were to where we are. I mean, there's the kids today, and I don't even know what that means. I mean, I'm pushing 60, so I'm not even sure what that means, but they don't get it. When they complain about how bad they have it, they have no idea where I had to go as a 16-year-old or an 18-year-old or even a 21-year-old where I had to go to buy my cannabis, I probably never should have been in that area. And to go from then till now, it's just, I mean, it's historic, absolutely historic. So yeah, so I'm the other half of Pop Brothers. Everybody doesn't know. We represent criminal cases. We also do the other side, all the regulatory compliance, licensing work for any type of business across the cannabis spectrum. And that's it. And we fight for the rights of the cannabis patients. And as I said, or my brother may have said, we get that script out there. It tells people how to be safe from the police in 25 words. And if you stick to it, it doesn't mean you won't get arrested, but it'll give your attorneys a great chance of getting the case thrown out before it even goes to court.
Winning. Love it. Appreciate you
Anything
guys,
else?
man. And Blue. Appreciate
Yes,
you
sir.
guys coming on, man. Appreciate you. You know, the work you do. Blue, where you rocking from, brother? Say what's up to everybody. Say what's up to the globe.
What's up, party people out there? This is Blue from Cannabis Talk 101. We have a national radio show that's launching tomorrow with iHeartRadio. We just signed our deal with iHeart with the Pop Brothers at Law. And myself and Joe Grande. We are going to be educating and teaching people about the beauty of cannabis. And we're very fortunate right now during this time, to be able to broadcast from home. There was, I think, 4,000 cuts over at iHeart, and shows were getting cut, and people were getting sent home. And we were very fortunate to be a necessity to be able to keep us on. So we were blessed with that. And then as far as Norml goes, man, you guys have been holding down the industry and supporting all kinds of people. I remember when, I had my first dispensary allegedly years ago. Norml came out and started protesting, and because we got raided, we're talking way back. So, they've been an asset and just a following for me for so many years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think we lost Keith now. How you doing?
Yeah. Hello. Welcome, Keith.
Thank you.
I'm not sure what happened. It looks like he froze a little bit.
He didn't pay his cable bill.
The beauty of the internet. The beauty of the internet.
What's
I
up,
wasn't
Ian?
sure exactly what.
Well, I don't appear to have God mode. I apologize, gentlemen. I would love to. I'd go ahead and bring back Mark and Bruce.
Have we lost something here?
But yeah, it looks like we lost Rico. Not quite sure what happened. Oh, he just said to take over. So hi, I guess I'm taking over. Brett, Ian, how are you guys doing in there? I'd love to hear what you guys like, how the social distancing is going. Ian gets a little handsy. Brett, are you okay?
It's difficult since Ian and I first started dating a couple weeks ago.
Okay, good. So you guys are already really comfy then.
You weren't supposed to go public with
that.
You're supposed to wait till
the anniversary to Norml. I met Keith so I forgot. Oh my God, it's been so long.
I think Keith hears you, right, Keith?
I think it's a good time to come out.
What Bruce was saying earlier, though, amazing all the work that guy's done, and from where it was a long time ago, a lot of people don't even realize a lot of people went to prison for weed. I also spent a year in prison, Todd. It's amazing to see how far we've gone. Now I get pulled over with a couple pounds in the car, and the guy's like, I don't even see you. Where they going? Slow it down. Never would have dreamed.
Yeah.
It's good to be here today and see what all has happened, and really look back at it all. For all these hardworking people out here.
Definitely do appreciate your support and coming out to party with us.
Are my checks still going through, or are they bouncing? Are they getting bounced back? My cigarette.
There you go.
Thanks, Ian. Yeah. Hi, Chris.
Hello.
I did have a few questions for you. So one of the things is just looking at, so I've been doing some light stalking of you and Todd the last couple of days. So finding out that I get to interview you guys, it feels so weird to do that because that's just not my MO. But you know, actually really learning a lot of what you've done in such a short amount of time. And then now where you're putting your initiatives and your energy, and it's really admirable. And so for me, I wonder, you know, what is it with Norml that you see as the future of advocacy?
I mean, I think it's a lot of things, right? Especially in the social equity space. I mean, considering that, you know, those that are involved in social equity have kind of been those consumers that have needed we've needed to advocate for to move things forward. And, you know, I think that we're really starting to make some headway there. And, you know, I definitely see that playing a huge part currently and moving forward to make sure that, you know, those people are taken care of as this industry, you know, continues to flourish. But, you know, aside from that, you know, I think that the future past, you know, obviously social equity and, you know, defeating the stigma that's around cannabis and making sure that people, you know, really understand it. And once we can break that stigma, I think there's going to be a lot of advocacy geared around, you know, more granular details of the plant and, you know, different consumption methods and different, you know, types of products to consume and what it would do, you know, based on whatever problem someone might be having, right? Because, you know, you could break someone's stigma on cannabis, but then how do we, you know, educate them more so they really understand it on that level? And you look how fast, like we've went from, you know, having having just some regular, you know, cannabis to the crazy extracts and consumption methods that we have now. So, you know, that was just within a few years. So just imagine the next 5 to 10. So I think it's going to be huge to put a lot of advocacy behind that in the coming years.
Yeah, absolutely. And then what about looking at moving forward and technology? I mean, that's such a big part of it. And what you've been able to bring to the cannabis industry has, I mean, I'm a corporate gal, so I really appreciate the CRM. You know, I've come in this space just in the last year, and that's the first thing I'm like, what do you mean you don't have a CRM? What do you mean you don't know what it is? And so to be able to know that there is a company like yours that has been working on revolutionizing that for the industry and has done that so successfully and at such an amazing young age, like it's huge. And so I just wonder, like, you know, what's next for you and for WebJoint and being able to use a technological approach to advance advocacy.
What's next for us is being able to advocate for those that want to have a foot in the industry but haven't, right? You know, before legalization, you had hundreds and thousands of businesses throughout the state of California that were, you know, able to, you know, pop up a delivery overnight because regulations weren't as tight as they are now. But, you know, what we've done with our technology is essentially allow, you know, 70 retailers delivery operations throughout the state to do what they do, use our software to manage their entire business. But now we're able to give anybody essentially a delivery that's layered on top of our network. So we just did a webinar last Wednesday where now those who weren't able to get a license are able to utilize our software to build their own delivery on top of the network. And what's great with that is, you know, people are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on getting licensed, getting product, hiring drivers, putting an entire infrastructure together to run one operation, which might be in LA or might be in Oakland or San Francisco. But then you only have the ability to operate in that area. But we're giving people the opportunity to operate throughout the entire state. And you don't need a license to do so because you're working with a network of licensed retailers to get it done. And then we have, you know, revenue models for people to participate in. So now almost anybody, you know, you could be in New York and participate in having a delivery that's, you know, delivering in California. So that's the next thing for us is to continue to advocate on the delivery side, make sure that, you know, social equity is definitely addressed, that the right people get the licenses who deserve it. And from there, you know, being able to help those businesses grow, because if we're layering other deliveries on top of these social equity operators, then, you know, they're able to send those operators orders, which they're all sharing in revenue. So, you know, we've tried to take the obvious, which is, you know, obviously people need software to run their business, but how do we use that to do something that's unique, which is, you know, layer other marketplaces on top of that so that, you know, everyone gets an opportunity in, and then everybody kind of, it's a win-win situation for everyone.
That's amazing. It's awesome. It's a platform for anyone who would want to use it, sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah. If you're a marketer, an influencer, if you have any way of getting, you know, people to come and you know, get traffic in any way, shape, or form, you're able to actually utilize that traffic to send orders to delivery services. So now you could have your own menu where someone places an order and it's delivered within an hour on our network.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So one final question is, why will advocacy be so important, do you think, for the next and finally legal generation? Like, we're not done, would you say?
Definitely. I mean, it's definitely going to be important for the next generation, you know, because as I said, once we get past that stigma, it's all about, you know, educating on a deeper, more granular level, and advocating for people to get involved so that they could take their skill set and go deeper into it. Like, you just look at evolution in general, right? Like, look how long it took for us to get our first touchscreen device, but once we had it, you know, my little brother or my little sister who's, you know, 9 years old doesn't need to learn how to build an iPhone. She already has one, so she could take that and build on top of it and develop applications. And, you know, that's I see the same thing happening with cannabis. So we have to continue to advocate the next generation to continue to propel things forward.
Awesome. Thank you.
Of course.
Well,
no, thank you.
I'm not sure how this next transition is going to work. I'm going to trust my guys behind the scene, but it's definitely been, it's been a privilege to be able to just chat with you this little bit today after learning everything that I have. I think that what you're doing is definitely revolutionary, and that the heart and the passion you have behind it is just like, I don't know. That's the stuff that speaks to me. So
thank you.
Love seeing what you're doing. Big fan.
I appreciate that so much.
Hey, Chris, can I ask Chris something?
Yeah, go for it.
Oh, there's Bruce.
Okay, look at Chris. I'm down for the social equity. These people are getting screwed, okay? It's not good at all. And number two is, what do you think about my idea that people have been convicted and have gone to prison or jail should get reparations? They should get discounts on their taxes every year. Like
100%. They should get discounts on their taxes. You know, if
you've been convicted or you've been arrested, when you got fucked because you couldn't get work, you got to get a break, okay? That's my thinking.
No, 100%. They need to get a break. They need to get, you know, discounts on taxes. They need to, you know, retailers should offer different, you know, coupons and promos or store credit or whatever the case may be on
there
that
you go.
too.
Now
and then
talking.
also having, something in place to where, you know, those who are affected have the opportunity to go work for an operator, manufacturer, distributor, to be involved if it's not, you know, operating their own business. You know, if there's something in place.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I think
giving people the means to find a way to monetize something that they love, so that way they truly can do it, especially because we've seen how unfair the hiring practices are of people who have been in prison no matter what the reason. And I mean, there's certain protections now, but let's be real on how much that's really going to protect people, you know. It's like the whole you give someone fish, but you teach them to fish, and they can teach themselves or feed themselves for life. Like,
exactly
that track. And that's what I love about what you're doing is it empowers people to be able to have that possibility.
100%.
So sorry.
Oh, no worries. I'm gonna have to plug in my computer here. I literally see it says 4%, so I'm hoping it doesn't turn off before we're done. I gotta go plug this in.
I think that it just kind of happened. So you know, I'm not really entirely sure what's going on. It's a learning experience for all.
It's all good. It seems like there's a good amount of viewers in. They all understand. Everyone's engaging, so it's good. It's good.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun.
God. Oh, there we go.
Oh, hello, God. Young Daddy the God, I believe, right?
Young. They call me Young Daddy the God.
Yeah.
All right, so we're gonna hop into a promotional video from one of our partners, and so she actually was one of the prisoners of war as well. She just got out from like a 5-year bid. Too, and she sent in a special video for us, so we're gonna hop on that real quickly here. And then
our government sent me to prison for 5 years, and what did I learn there? That you needed money while you were locked up. So hence Freedom Grow. We take care of non-violent cannabis prisoners unfairly locked up, many doing life without parole. A group of volunteers we are, 0 paid employees, beg for money to put on their commissary and fight for their clemency. No one should be locked up for a plant. We communicate with our plant prisoner families and send them newsletters and send their sons and daughters and, of course, their mothers and fathers in prison for a plant. We also attend court for our plant prisoners. The DA and the judge and everyone in the court, the jury, all act differently when we are watching. Please donate to Feeding America. Every penny adds up. Change for change.
Hey guys, welcome back.
Much love, Chris. Much love.
Hey, what's happening?
Much love for holding this off. We got Brett in the house, and Brett's gonna close it down with us with Ian the future. Hey, Chris,
Great.
salute. Chris is fucking killing it. The music game, the tech game, like all this shit. You should take down Big Marker, make a web joint connect, some shit like that. Oh man! All right, so much love, Ishka. Much love, Chris. And thank you guys for coming out. We're gonna have the final words coming from Ian Rassman and Brett Harrelson, and they're gonna be introducing our very special guests to close us down.
Dope.
All right. Hey, this has just been a lot of fun, and we're pretty honored, honestly, to be here representing Norml. I mean, what an OG organization, right? 50 years. Really incredible history. So really, I think I know all of us at Los Angeles Norml are just incredibly honored and privileged to be involved in such an OG organization. So we're really honored to represent the people of Los Angeles. And Brett, you want to introduce our special guest coming in?
Keith needs no introduction, but you know what Keith Stroke has done over the years in starting Norml, I can't say enough to him. But with that said, we need to bring in Keith. This is really, without him, none of this would be possible.
And we've got.
I met him so long ago, and it's funny now how you're now. You know, I met this guy 30 years ago because I started dating his sister. It's amazing he still talks to me, actually. But and so I knew Keith a long time ago, and then how it comes full circle. Anyway, Ian, awesome all you're doing. Keith, what an honor.
So let's bring Keith in, and also coming in is Eric Altieri, the current leadership at National Norml, which is really the organization that oversees everything. So we're really honored to have Keith and Eric. So let's bring them by now if we can. My phone's going crazy. I don't know what y'all tell me on my phone. Anyway, I see somebody. Hey, there's Eric. All right, Eric.
Hey, everybody's out going. Having a good 420 Eve.
We hear you, Eric. Go.
I can't hear you very well.
Don't worry about it. We hear you fine. I'm not saying anything good.
Sure. Well, you know, firstly, I want to thank LA Norml for having me on and hosting this wonderful event this evening. I'm sure this is not the way most of us thought we'd be celebrating 420 in 2020. But, you know, here we are stuck in our houses, and I'm glad everyone's staying safe and that you're making great use of technology and your network connections to really put together a unique live stream like this. So big thank you to LA Norml, Canna Gather, all the folks out there that really, you know, busted their asses to put this together and make it happen. And I mean, there was a couple hitches in the beginning, but it was great. So once it got up and running, I was glad to see everybody coming on, having a great discussion. And, you know, here on, like in a lot of ways on 420, you know, I was been looking back on kind of, you know, where Norml's been and what it really means to be normal here as we approach our 50th birthday. And at the core of what Norml really is, it's not folks like myself and Keith out here in DC in our offices. You know, it's not really about these powerful lobbyists in suits working for the corporations doing backroom deals. What Norml is really about is grassroots advocacy and volunteers and committed folks like yourselves that wake up every day and organize and advocate and make change happen in their local communities. And from the bottom of my heart, I couldn't be prouder and thank you all enough for what you do. I know that it is hard work. It can be physically and emotionally draining. It can often feel thankless some days when you're having a tough day. But I just want to make sure everyone out there that's watching and that's involved with LA Norml or any of our chapters across the country that are watching, you should never doubt, no matter how hard the work feels, that already the work we've all done together over the past 5 decades has fundamentally and permanently changed the trajectory of this country and changed the lives of millions of Americans. There's now, because of movement for decriminalization and legalization, as we've achieved that in more and more states each year, millions of Americans are now avoiding arrest for simple marijuana possession and consuming a plant we know is objectively safer than alcohol and tobacco. Millions of patients now have access to marijuana and its therapeutic benefits. That's what happens when we've come together and we've stood shoulder to shoulder and we've fought against these unjust laws. It's not always an easy fight, to be sure. Here, there's a bitter sweetness to Norml's 50th anniversary. In a lot of ways, we have a lot to be proud of, that a advocacy organization, certainly one ran by a bunch of people who love to smoke weed, has lasted this long and been organized, paid the bills, kept the lights on, and actually impacted real change. But, there's also the fact that here we are in 2020 and still 600,000 Americans are being arrested every year for just marijuana possession. So, it's easy to forget, certainly if you're out in LA with some wonderful cannabis shops probably around the corner. Here in DC, possession's legal where I am. But still, the majority of this country is living under the oppressive regime of prohibition and all the harm that causes to communities, most noteworthy to communities of color, and the racist applications of our marijuana laws. So what we really do need to do moving forward is we have kind of a several front fight in our hands as we look from 2020 onward. And I know it's certainly tough now when you see that, marijuana policy, to be honest, at this point in time, here we are in April, not at the top of minds of a lot of our lawmakers, the media. They're obviously in many ways rightfully dealing with the pandemic situation we have. But when we've lasted for 50 years, we've seen crises like these before, and they do always end, and we can always come out the other side stronger, more prepared, and more united to move forward on the policy changes we want to see. The first kind of front we have to work on is ending the prohibition of marijuana in those states where it's still a criminal penalty to simply possess marijuana for any reason for an adult. So we need your help, even if you're in California. Make sure you're educating and reaching out to folks in other states using our action tools on norml.org/act to contact legislators. So we need to end that prohibition. We need to expand it to all 50 states have adult legal use. And then we need to really help get there. We need your help to change federal law. And that's where we've seen a lot of exciting developments in the past year. We had the first bill to fully deschedule marijuana be approved out of a congressional committee ever in history. That happened just at the end of 2019. We have a lot of reasons to be hopeful as we continue the fight for federal reform. But it's important to note that just because we legalize marijuana, that is not the end of our fight. And you're really starting to turn that page now in California with your legal industry there. Norml was founded, if Keith was on and perhaps will be coming on after me to talk about it, Norml was founded largely inspired by the work Ralph Nader did on consumer rights. Keith did a lot of work with Ralph Nader in his early career, and he thought we should have a group that represents marijuana consumers. And that's what Norml was founded on, and that's what we still are to this day. We don't represent like industry interests or folks like that we certainly coordinate and work with the industry on changing policy, and they've been incredibly helpful. But we're there to be the voice for the marijuana smoker, the marijuana consumer across this country. So once legalization happens, that's really in a lot of ways where the fight just begins. We need to make sure that taxation rates are fair, that we're not overpaying for quality product. We want to make sure products are safe and tested and we know what's in them. We need to make sure that marijuana consumers are no longer treated like second-class citizens in the workplace through drug testing regimes. We need to make sure that individuals are no longer being punished and threatened by CPS for consuming marijuana if they have children. So we have a whole wide array of those sort of ancillary issues that come into being once there's a legal market to continue to work on that are just as incredibly as important, as well as continuing to push for the full and automatic expungement of criminal records for marijuana possession. Because certainly once marijuana has become legal in your state, you should no longer be saddled with a criminal record for that. And ultimately, while we're here and we've certainly been stalled a bit, we would have probably seen a lot more progress this year if this current pandemic situation didn't happen. It sidelined a number of initiatives that were in process. It slowed down state legislative work. But looking forward, we will have several states voting on full legalization this year. We'll have several states voting on medical marijuana this year. We will add new states to our list of pro-reform states. That means we'll get more allies in Congress from those who represent those states. And we're going to keep pushing forward. The American people are overwhelmingly on our side with this. 68% of all Americans, including majorities of Democrats, independents, and Republicans, support legalizing marijuana. We've won the hearts and minds of the people. We need to take that fight to the politicians and make sure they join us on the right side of history. And it's with the help and because of the hard work that LA Norml does, that Texas Norml does, that anyone who engages with us at a grassroots level does, that's a real possibility. So thank you for all you do. I hope you're all staying very safe this 420 and very high, and take care of yourselves and each other out there, because that's really all we can do right now. So thanks for having me on. And if certainly anyone had any questions or wanted to keep the discussion going, more than willing to just hang around.
Much love.
I mean, definitely please stick around. I think that we're adding a few more people as well, and just going to do a nice big group sesh before we go. So I hope that you don't leave quite too soon. Love having you, and thank you for your part in all this as well. So.
There's an outside shot. Tommy will come back and join us, but I think he got booted out because he got booted out. We had like a bunch of duplicated squares at one point. We have Nick, Brett, Ishka, Brett too. We got two Bretts in the house.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
European Ian.
Yeah.
All right. So if any of the guests can hear us, please do make sure that your mic and your video is active. I've had to go back in a number of times.
And refresh.
5+ times. Yeah.
Refresh helps.
That helps. So, all right. So, anyway.
Mario, what up? Yeah, just turn your camera on and refresh your screen. You should be good to go.
All right. So
I could do a refresh real quick.
Big shout out to the team that really put this together. Honestly, Nicholas, Rico, Ishka, Brett, Philip. Oh my goodness, the whole team at LA Norml. You guys.
Mario's getting on right now. Mario's coming on.
And now the man of the motherfucking hour, the man
Mario.
Beard going, Mr. Oh shit. Oh shit, son.
Man, that's quarantine beard.
You got me feeling like trash right now, bro.
What's up, guys? How are you?
Pretty good.
How are you doing? Happy 420.
Glad Tommy couldn't get in here with us. Fuck.
He got in the first room.
We're still in the room.
Is he? Good to see you guys, man. Just my little part in this whole thing, just being a little humble little grower, being in San Francisco in the late 90s, early 2000, and just being part of I think I'm at that unique age where I'm not the OGs, but I'm old enough to be around during that time, and meet guys like, for me, and being in San Francisco and being a young man and meeting guys like Dennis Perone and speaking on the steps of the city hall there in San Francisco, and feeling inspired, feeling like he was so far ahead of anything I could do. But one of the things I learned as a young man is that we all have a voice, and we all have the ability to speak up for what's right and wrong, and everything, civil rights and everything that we fight for in America and globally. And I just developed, I think I was one of the first sort of growers, these urban growers that I coined it, in like places like San Francisco, and we'd go into like the first dispensary I ever went to was on Haight Street, Lower Haight. Met a gentleman named Martin Olive that operates the vapor room there, and just kind of learned just the culture of cannabis. Just being in my early 20s, taking my pot I grew in my garage, no testing, no regulation, just bringing it down. Hey, what do you think? Oh, this is fire. Here you go. And that was it. And what I saw over the course of 6 months was just all types of people from all walks of life benefiting from me growing my little garden, and such is the culture that at that part I tapped into. But just being inspired by guys like Dennis and his story, and just stepping up and speaking up for what you believe in and what's right. And even though I wasn't the most sophisticated guy, and I wasn't a college graduate, and I wasn't into politics, I realized that I have a voice, and I need to tell people about this amazing plant. And I really, that my advocacy, I guess, started at that point. I went and someone came up to me, and I'll wrap up what I was going to say with this. Is some lady came up to me, and this was early 2000s, and she said, "Hey, when I smoke your stuff, out of all the stuff at the dispensary, it makes me feel the best. And, and I can sleep at night, and I can be a better wife. And, I've been fighting less with my husband." And like, literally I was driving home and I started to tear up. And that's when I decided to dedicate my life to this amazing plant. And so that was 20 years ago. And, again, with Norml, alongside people like Dennis Perone, you see the founders, you find out about Norml, and you find out about what they're doing. And it started out by, again, seeing it on a shirt, with Cheech and Chong in a movie. But, through efforts like that and getting that placement into a movie and all the efforts along the way, guys like me are inspired to change the world in the little bit of way that I can and try to contribute. So I've been fortunate to do some breeding along that way and create gelato. And it's been my contribution to the cannabis industry, and I continue to breed and to take 1 foot from the illegal market, I guess, into the full regulated market, and to charge forward proudly. And so I'm just really honored to be included in this group of all of you, and I'm proud of the efforts that everyone's put in the past and the present and in the future, of all the work that we'll do to change the way that people view this amazing plant.
And we need more motherfucking inspirational souls like yourself, Mario. Much love, brother.
I did want to just add one more thing, guys. The one thing that I see, not just in society, but in the cannabis industry, other than the freedom fighters like ourselves, is just a lack of leadership, amongst just not the political people, the guys like yourselves that go on the front lines and fight the legal battles and all the battles that are fought behind the scenes, but just the little guys, and the people that can make a difference. So, and the growers and the people that put in their heart, to make a difference in their own way. I just especially during this time, again, just this being essential has been the word coming up. I mean, I think like that's definitely the word for 2020. But what an amazing journey it's been for us, So, anyways, I'll pass the mic to the group. Thank you guys again for having me, and I'll
thank
fire
you for
up
blessing us.
All our freedom fighters in the past, present, and future. This is for you. Thank you.
Thank you for the gift of gelato, brother. Much love. Thank you, Mario.
And that really inspirational words, like, yeah, empowering the little man. You never know what they can do. So,
and Ian,
I have to say, here
you want to bring us home?
Yep. So anyway, really love to thank everybody for participating. We're going to be doing this on a regular basis, so please check back in with us. We have a lot of content coming to you from around the whole country. There's a lot of action going on all over the country. We're going to be letting you know where it's at right here at lanorml.org. Really big shout out to all the celebrities that came out to support us on our 50-year anniversary. And I know that Tommy's people are texting here on the phone, and I don't know what happened with his technology, but we'll get him back, I'm sure. Of course, he's an OG player in the game for a long time. Anyway, really big shout out to everybody. There's so much work to do left, by the way. I mean, I know everybody thinks that cannabis is legal here in California, but that's people ask me all the time, well, what's still left to do? But there's a lot of people in jail. There's a lot of people that need their records expunged. The war on drugs was horrendous here in Los Angeles. So there's so much work left to be done. A lot of lives that have been ruined, and we got to find some way to fix that. So anyway, keep checking back with us at lanormal.org. We're going to keep you updated on everything that's going on. We're going to be bringing you lots of educational content to come. We know you're all at home looking for finding community. We are going to give you the community. You're going to find community right here, lanormal.org. We're going to be bringing in the education all the time. So big shout out for everybody that came in. Thank you so much. Brett, thank you so much for hosting today. Appreciate that, brother. And that's it, really. Thanks so much for everybody. Eric, thank you for all you're doing over there in DC and keeping us on track. You guys are really pushing forward on the big issues, so thank you so much.
All right, y'all. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. And with that being said, I just wanted to add one more thing. We got to make sure that when the laws come in, they're written with our fucking voices. Make sure they have our imprint on that. Don't let these corporations, don't let these fucking politicians write our laws. They're not the ones that went through the war on drugs. They're not the ones that smoke. Let's fucking make sure it's in our voices. And going forward is the new normal. All right, y'all. Peace.